How do I get rid of this?
And we'll wait for people to join us. Is there any attendees there? All right, so we know that's there. We have a lot of people here in person, so that's good.
Do you have any clue how I can get rid of this screen? This, it just came up.
I don't see a twist on.
Oh, it just went away.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make this.
Hi, Penny.
Right? Hey, Ross. Hey, Ross. Hey, Ross. Just want to let you know we're about to start, okay? And can everybody hear us over there with the air conditioners on? If not, feel free to move closer here. Okay. And we'll try to speak up because it's, yeah. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody and start the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners regular meeting for July 2024. And this is going to be a hybrid meeting that is being conducted pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, permitting us to do this. I'm going to start by calling the roll of commissioners. Reg Foster's here.
Jim Flanagan's here.
Ed Scheidler's here.
Penny Kirk's here.
Janice Bennett is here.
And we have a quorum, and I just wanted to announce for the record that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Housing Authority, Ms. Gosman, on July 12th, and was filed with the clerk of the town of Needham. First, I would like to just note for anybody who's not here in person that this is, I think, the first official Needham Housing Authority meeting in our newly refurbished community room here, 5 Chambers Street, and it's fabulous. You know, you buy a new car, you know what that new car smell is? Well, that's what all of a sudden I smelled on the way in today. So thanks to Cheryl, and thanks to our ARPA grant that we got to do that, and Representative Garlick who got us that grant. And it's terrific. Anybody who hasn't had a chance to check out the bathrooms or the kitchen should definitely do that as well, because we all know up until last month, they definitely were a little long in the tooth here. So that's great. So I think I don't have any special or last minute announcements. So we'll go right to resident input. Does anybody, do we have any resident input here today? Ross.
What was the concern about the proposed new housing?
Would you like to talk? Go ahead.
I have a lot of concerns about it. My name is Monty Hughes. I live at 152B Linden Street, and I'm also a part of the Arts and Culture Council. And I'm just concerned about it because I don't see it really taking into the residents here are elderly and disabled. These people are not a lot of times able to come forward and express their concerns. However, I hear a lot of it from being, on the ground level, and it's losing the whole personality. I live in the units that are in the 4 level units where we have, indoor, outdoor windows and all that. And they're very concerned because they have privacy, and they're concerned that this is not being taken into account. And I understand that the need for more housing makes too, and I'm not trying. Okay, I understand the need for new housing and for more housing for people. I really do. Isn't there another property in Needham that it can be built on? Something of that. This is what I'm trying to.
And chambers or just chambers?
Linden.
The Linden Street
Linden
development.
is where I live, and everybody's very happy there. They have little gardens outside, like I'm saying, they have privacy. They really are very, very upset about this.
So you only have to walk 1 or 2 steps and then you open the door. New proposed development is
Can
what,
you
4
say your
stories?
name as well?
Pardon?
Can you say your name as well?
Oh, Sally McCarthy. I live
Sally
at 1
McCarthy.
to 6 Linden.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I had stroke. I have a little blur.
No,
But-
we can understand you fine. Go ahead.
Okay, on Linden Street, you walk 1 stair or 2 stairs. You put your key in, you open your door. And the proposed development, I understand is 4 stories high. So there's gonna be definitely an elevator,
Right.
and you go in and take an elevator, long corridor, because I've seen, everybody's seen apartment buildings like that. There's no privacy, as Monty said. She actually touched on most of my foot. I haven't.
Well, we don't have it on the agenda for tonight, but maybe we should schedule another meeting. We have had, I think, 5 resident meetings. The last one we had was May, is that right? I think. And I know it is a challenge at getting people to come, but I don't know maybe we can do a better job of noticing it or making it, having some
And maybe
refreshments.
an agenda.
An agenda, and,
Posted, that would really help a lot.
I think that's absolutely appropriate to do, because I think I've done one of these projects before, about 15 years ago for seniors, and people don't necessarily take it seriously the first few meetings you do.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you put an RFP out and all people say, well, maybe this thing is really going to happen. And they haven't attended any of the meetings. And so they haven't had a chance to ask those questions and provide their input. And, hopefully a lot of their questions can be addressed. But, like any human beings, fear of the unknown is the worst fear of all, number one, and then number two, people don't like change. I don't like change. I hate change myself.
I'm
I'm disabled.
Yeah, no, it's
And
understandable.
It's not about change, though. Change, if I saw it as being a positive, I
Well-
would be backing it.
Well,
100%.
exactly.
But I do not see this as a positive, because one thing that's.
So let me interrupt you and say, we don't have time on the agenda. It's not even on the agenda. So under open meeting laws, we can't have an impromptu meeting about something that isn't on the agenda. But let's definitely schedule a
Thank
meeting
you
and
very much. I agree.
Go ahead.
That's
Do you
wonderful.
want to leave me your contact information and then we can touch base with you? or-
Absolutely. I would
Okay,
love
do
to
you
do
mind
that.
doing that?
No,
So
not
you
at
just
all.
put it right here.
And,
I can
let's
also send you some stuff
sometime,
in mail, but I'll
um,
most definitely
later,
inform you with my-
when it's convenient for everybody, let's have a meeting, especially since we have such a nice place to have it in now. So it's
Have
actually
any
cool.
proposals been put out to someone who could rehab? Like get bids?
So it was, we can't get into too many questions here, but I will answer
Just
that one.
broadly.
But yes, the very first thing we looked at is it possible? Is it feasible? Can we get money to rehab? And the problem is the buildings are so old, it would cost more to rehab them.
It
And
always does.
no,
That's what
but
they
there
always
isn't the
say.
money to do it, is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And, but that, I would say, one of the things that could really be helpful is if everybody could, get all the questions.
Yeah.
And together and encourage people to come, and we can even have some translators.
People would
And
have
there's
a great,
nothing in mine.
especially people with a language barrier.
We will have translators.
No, they can speak.
Yeah.
English, but the fear of coming authority.
Yep, but it's, I don't know what else we can do. I think maybe, maybe they can give their questions to somebody else who doesn't, maybe they can give their questions to somebody else who doesn't have
Yeah.
as much concern. I mean, that's certainly understandable. We want to stay under the radar,
Yeah,
but let's
exactly.
definitely do that, okay? Great. Ross, I think you had your hand up there. Go ahead.
Yes, just to report that the Linden Chambers Residents Association has been meeting toward getting certified as a local tenant organization. So we're going through those rules and regulations. We'll have the bylaws, the Housing Authority has a copy of the Google document that we've been working on. We don't expect it to be going through any changes. We pretty much filled in the blanks with Ben. We had a meeting there. There are some other options that we're considering, but we want to be able to go through the proper channels. We want to get used to doing things right. For instance, even as a board, even though we're the same steering committee, same group of people, now that we're an approved board, approved by the, approved by, as an association, approved by Ben and their procedures. So we can use the word, we can describe ourselves as an association, for instance. Before, now that we've had an election, we've been certified by the union, that's where we're at. And the rest of it is bylaws and meeting with a quorum of the general membership in order to get their consent. We're going to have to work that out ourselves because we're already considering some modifications and changes. We want to make sure we do everything right, get the groups going. We expect to have, membership meetings at least every month, connected with other social activities.
That's great. Well, tenants association can be a great help if we do something like trying to redevelop Linden Street too. It's great to hear you're making progress on the bylaws. So and send us a copy when they're done or when they're ready.
I think I sent it to Marguerite.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a sign.
It's a standard form.
It
We
is-
really
okay.
literally almost made no changes.
All right.
Yeah, perhaps at some point you'll give us a signed copy of your document.
When it gets
Right.
Yeah,
adopted. Yep.
when it gets adopted.
Yeah, I wanted to, there've been some discussions going along, but I wanted to do sort of a summary status report. This is what we have. I think at that point, we'll have everything in place, and it'll be up to the board to make any observations, recommendations, whatever they think we should.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Great. Anybody on the attendee list on here virtually, raise your hand if you'd like to speak. I see no hands raised, so let's go ahead to the next agenda item, which is our normal agenda item A, which is to review and approve the NHA bill schedule check warrant of 700. Ooh, this is a big number. $785,239.13.
Yes.
And I will make a motion to approve that. And if we have a second, we can go through any questions that there are.
Second,
A second from Janice and question from Ed. Go ahead.
Yeah, page 13. I'm just curious to know why, what is the pilot, NHA pilot taxes? What is that?
So do you want me to do that or should I do that? Okay, so it turns out that
wow.
when the Seabeds and Cook project was done in the 1980s, the board at the time, the town time, negotiated a pilot agreement, and that stands for payment in lieu of taxes. And Cheryl noticed.
No, our fee accountant.
Our fee accountant noticed and informed Cheryl that even though we've been paying this every year right along since 1980, it hadn't been paid for the last 3 years. This is something that really caught my attention as well. We have no payments in lieu of taxes for Linden Chambers. We have no payments in lieu of taxes for its High Rock Estates. We have $720 a year in its entirety for High Rock Homes. And this represents 3 years of back payments, which we owe. So Cheryl said, well, we better get into the, get it current. But both Cheryl and I were saying, you know what, we should probably get an agreement extending not only the Linden Chamber, the Linden Street one, because, you know, we don't want to have to pay that, you know, start that up at all. And it says in the deeds and the grants of land and everything from the 50s and the 60s, there's no pilot, you know, no, but nobody, it's sort of been lost, you know, in institutional memory, why that didn't happen for Seabeds and Cook. So we're in the process of trying to find the original agreement. And then we'll go and take it up with the town and say, you know, we're kind of short of money. We're scrambling for money to do all this redevelopment and the modernization. Sure would be nice if we could maybe make that, you know, annual pilot payment go away. The way it's calculated for Seabeds and Cook, and this is a standard formula that you see in other housing authorities, it's gross rental receipts minus utility expense times 10%. And so you'll see there's 3 payments there of 63,000 and change, you know, that represents the 3 years that apparently, I think in the transition away from Angie through Steve Merritt and into Cheryl, that was something that was over, you know, wasn't noticed that we stopped paying that.
Okay, thank you.
It would be very nice to have that for renovations at Seabeds and Cook instead of paying it for, you know, in lieu of taxes to meet them. I agree. So, any other questions on the warrant?
On page 30.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just the 91 days and over of past due amounts.
Wait a minute, we're not on that yet. We're just trying to approve the warrant. We'll get there.
Okay, got it. All right.
Hang in there. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will call the roll. I'm the only commissioner here, so everybody else is virtual. Reg Foster says aye.
Jim Flanagan says aye.
Ed Scheidler says aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. We now come to, I think, a special check we want to review, discuss. You want to do that one first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This, okay, we'll come back to that then. All right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
okay.
can do the special check. if you like.
Well, I thought it was because it was part of the,
It is not part of this warrant. It'll be part of.
but
next
it
week's
is
warrant.
NHA expenditure, yeah.
On the check roll, but
We can-
it will be included on next.
Yeah,
week's
well, why don't you go ahead and explain it then, and then we'll go.
So we do have a special check for BH plus A designers, architects for Linden Chambers. And as you know, we received a grant funding that Denise Garlick again orchestrated for us in the amount of $1.25 million to help us with the development of Linden Chambers. And so this money is in the EOHLC's bank account or budget, and we needed to draw that money down so we could pay our architects. So this check represents invoices actually for the beginning of this year. We still have additional
Meaning,
invoices to pay.
July 1, 2023 year?
No,
No, this year, okay, right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah,
So 2024.
2024 invoices. And I'm scrambling because I don't.
Well, while you look, I'll put a little more backstory here.
Great.
So, it turns out because the ARPA money that's being given to us, you know, granted to us, and many other housing authorities, so like 10 other housing authorities, there's been a big kind of system glitch challenge thing because it's not standard money being paid out that has prevented us from paying BH&A for a whole year's worth of invoices since July 2023. And every month it's been, well, we're almost about to get it fixed and almost get fixed, but we haven't, as you know, they've done all this magnificent work for us for Linden and Chambers, but they actually we're in arrears 12 months to pay by paying them. Now, it would be normally be in arrears for a month or two. We wouldn't have paid the May and June 2024 invoices yet, but obviously we were overdue for the rest of them. That logjam just broke earlier this week, literally after, I don't know how many countless hours that Cheryl has spent trying to get this thing, dealt with. And we wanted to ask the board, inform the board, or ask the board if it's okay that we also approve these payments so that the checks can go out tomorrow to BH&A. And then we expect to get more payments and, more payments caught up. We've got now notices that it should be all caught up by August 11th, which is hugely good news here. You want to add anything then?
Yeah, so EOHLC does a great job of tracking the paper and making sure that the record on payments are accurate, and they have a nice module that actually works. So it's really easy on my end to upload invoices and process a payment for them. But there was a glitch in the system and we couldn't get that fixed. So with Reg's help, with Denise's help, with a lot of people's help, we finally got the glitch fixed and we're paying these invoices. So we do have a check. We had money that was wired to our account in the amount of $109 and
$9,000.
109, 163,100,50 cents. And this check, I had planned to have it signed this evening. I had hoped Penny and Ed would be here. But I may actually bring it by to you guys tonight along with the checks. And if you could just sign this particular check, we will send it priority mail to BH+A. So as Reg said, they have been doing a phenomenal job for us with site design. And we've been unfortunately delayed because of a glitch in the system of getting them paid. So we want to rush this check off first thing tomorrow and have them paid.
Thank
So
you.
this is just for 5 invoices, but we have invoices, we have 9 more that that will be coming forward. And since the glitch is fixed, we'll be processing those checks right away.
And I haven't asked Cheryl about this, but I'm sort of thinking that as soon as the rest of the money shows up, because it's over $500,000.
Yeah, we're gonna process those
We'll
right away.
probably get a quick special board meeting just to
Okay,
improve
to
those
approve those
ones,
checks.
just for that, because personally, I'm very embarrassed that we find ourselves in this position, and they, BH&A has continued to work, around the clock to help us out, and it's just not the right thing, and they have been very patient with us. I'm gonna, what is the
I
exact
do
amount
want to
again?
add, though, that it's not just Needham Housing Authority that has this problem with this system that the state uses. There's 10 other housing authorities that experience difficulties with the ARPA grants. So it's not just us, it's just
No.
that the system, they're changing their system over and perhaps hadn't accounted for that little caveat that needed to be
There was-
included in the process.
So whatever it was, and then we never, 10 that we know of anyway. What's the exact amount again? Can you read that?
The exact amount is $109,163.50.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve Cheryl paying those checks, and it'll be on next
Second.
month's warrant. And we got a second from Jim. Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Reg Foster says yes.
Jim Flanagan says yes.
Ed Chandler says yes.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett, aye.
Okay, thanks. And so we'll go to A2. I want to sign that check.
You want to sign it, great.
Yeah,
Great,
yeah.
okay, great. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Second that motion.
Seconded was Jim. We're recording, right? We should be okay there, right? Yeah, we are. So we come to the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant. of $63,012. I make a motion that we approve that warrant. Do I hear a second?
second,
Second from Janice. Any questions on the items tonight here? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
And Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And that is approved unanimously. We are at the minutes. Do we have minutes?
Yes, they
Yes.
go out.
Yep, good.
In the packet, it was delivered on Monday.
All right, great. And again, I'm going to make all the motions just to keep this moving along because there are no humans here, human board members here today. So I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
Second from Penny. And any corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And that is approved unanimously. All right, over to you, Cheryl, for your executive director's report.
Okay, we have the monthly financial report that you received on Monday, along with the hard copy of the packet. Nothing new to report other than reserves are pretty good, which is on the first page of the report. Just looking for not sure if anyone has any questions on the financial report.
Any questions? All right, onward.
And then
I do.
Oh,
Hold
you,
on.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Penny.
On page 33, the very top section, Captain Robert Cook Drive, it says 90 plus days. We're over $4,000 owed. Is that right?
Oh, is that for the tenants account, receivable? Let me pull that up. The agent report, I think you referred to. Yes, that's, you're right, it's what, the way you're reading it, yes, there's 90 days old, yes.
Is that chronic?
Yeah, I think it is. We do have a lot of tenants that do not pay their rent on time, unfortunately. And these residents we're in conversation with our attorney on these matters.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, let's go to, is it the annual plan next that you want to discuss here?
Let me just make sure that the annual plan, you guys have a copy of the draft annual plan
For the state.
for the state unit. And do you have any questions on that?
I will just make a comment that in my recollection, I'm looking at Penny and Ed and Janice. This is the earliest we've received this in many a year from our previous executive directors. And really appreciate your being right on top of this so that we don't wind up having a big fire drill at the end of the year and having it reviewed and approved here. So
I just want to say that there was a plethora of information in all of those plans, including the maintenance plan. I was rather impressed with all
Very.
of the information in the plans. So yeah, good job on that.
Yeah, our maintenance staff are really absolutely phenomenal. So when I was working with the consultant on putting the plan together, she said, "Do you want to say anything about your maintenance staff?" I said, "They're excellent." She said, "Is that it?" And I said, "Well, they're really very, very good. They provide a great service to our residents in a very humane way. They care about our residents. In fact, we had a power outage last week in which a tree had fallen down on some wires. And we had our generator going, which allowed the power to continue in chambers. And our staff went door to door to those persons for whom may need breathing support, or they just wanted to make sure that they weren't in trouble with any oxygen machines that they may have in the house. So they went door to door to check on the residents and then reported to the police department their findings, and worked well with the police department to make sure that the alarm systems were in place. So they just jumped into gear. This is a really great team, and they care. They really do. They do things in a very humane way.
Thank you for that, Cheryl.
But it is a great report. I think it says a lot about the agency and everything that we're doing.
Is that report available online?
Yes, it is. And we will bring a hard copy into this room as well. I have your email and I'm going to send you a hard copy.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Would you like it electronically or by mail?
Could I, you can send it to me electronically. I'll get it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. So that's our plan. We have the public hearing scheduled for our board meeting in September on the plan, but it's posted for comments for people to comment on during this time between now and September. Sure if there's any other questions on that.
Is it posted on, I'm sorry, but is it posted on the Needham Housing website?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's a sub, if you go to the menu that's at the top right, you'll find it very easily.
Yeah.
And so this is, we're not approving it or anything like that tonight. We're just announcing that it exists so that
is
getting the
available
word
for
out.
comment.
Exactly.
Public
And then
comment.
on the
Comments.
September meeting will be the official review and a public comment, public hearing on the plan. So, okay.
Great.
Seabeds Way and Captain Robert
Seabeds
Cook.
Way, Captain Robert Cook Drive. So our paving project at Seabeds Way has begun. And the contractor is doing a great job. I received an email from one of our residents complimenting the work that the contractor is doing, commenting that they are extremely polite and responsive to our residents. Our staff, again, our maintenance staff went door to door and made sure that if anyone needed assistance in moving their car, they would provide it for them. So we had to move the car out of the big circle, and it also meant that it would be a longer walk from where the car was parked back to the building. But our staff did a great job going door to door to make sure that anyone that needed help moving their car received it. I wanted to drive over today to see how far they had gotten. I believe they're striping the circle this evening. So that big round circle part of it is complete. And they will do the driveways between the building next to the community room and I believe it's the far building at the very end where the last building in the block. But again, they've done a great job. I put a copy of in your board packet of their proposed change order, which means that they're adding to the scope of work, particularly for Captain Robert Cook Drive. And the drawing denotes a green area that is in back of building 33 to 39. And it's very bad back there. You know what I'm talking about, Janice?
Yes,
Sure. Okay, so
yes, I
that
went over
area,
and checked it out actually, and it's pretty dangerous looking over there.
yes, it's very bad. So the proposal is to do that area over, which was not on the original bid. And then also at the bottom of the hill, the bottom of the circle, you see the blue, we're doing some mitigation work there. I think it's the catch basin and all that. Really bad asphalt area in that section. And then at the top where you see red, that is just some little a little spot work that Katie, the engineer, pointed out when we walked the site. It wasn't part of the original proposal, but it is on the potential change order that you have in front of you. And the total amount is $32,457.
Would this be a good time to approve the change order since you explained everything here? Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I was over there a couple of days ago and everything was a moonscape on Monday evening. And the fact it's done on Thursday is really great because it was a bit of an inconvenience. All those cars that are usually parked in that area were all had to be parked down the road towards Cook and down in the Cook lots and so forth. And, you know, some people have some mobility issues, but I did walk around and talk to the residents who were out for the night, and it was the same thing that Cheryl said. Everybody I talked to said, you know, hallelujah, we could put up for a little bit of inconvenience here, and they're very nice crew, very respectful. You know, we all know how long we've all been waiting to make this happen. So thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve this change order for the amount that Cheryl cited. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second from Penny. Any further discussion? Hearing none. I will call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Jim Flanagan says aye.
Tyler says aye.
Penny Kirk says aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And this is
Cheryl.
great.
I had an email from a resident who had a hard time getting on tonight. She is up at Seabed's Way, and she has asked me to convey to you when it would be a good time to park back up in the circle of Seabed's.
I think it will be tomorrow, but we'll make that announcement, and our guys will definitely make sure residents will know. They'll be up there helping people move their cars if they need it. We'll give them everything that they need to get back to normal.
They just need to get the striping done, all the
striping is what
asphalt's
needs to
down.
be
So
done.
that's, you know.
It was, I believe it was the same person who so graciously said that the workers were very polite.
Very good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to
Yeah,
High Rock,
great.
another one of our very long overdue projects, the roofing at High Rock
So the
Estates.
roofing project has started at High Rock Estates. It's a good contractor. They plan to just knock this job right out the park. The dumpster is on site, all of the equipment, the shingles, everything is on site, fenced out. They're good to work with, and that project is moving along at a good clip. Anyone have any questions on that?
Any questions?
We did have a change order related to that, and I think we voted that at our previous meeting, in that we were going to do the roof sheds. The roofs are being replaced, and then we're going to replace the shed roofs as well. But I do believe we brought that up at the next meeting.
Sounds
So
good.
we're not doing it at that moment. And then the last one is Matthew's house, as a fire alarm upgrade. And that project went out to bid. It's been posted in the local paper. So we haven't actually chosen a contractor yet. The engineers have done all the scope work. But the bid proposals are due very soon, and a contractor will be selected. This is a state project, so HLC does a lot of this work for us. It's just me following along and making sure that I'm in place to do what I need to do to keep the project going. So that's Matthew's house. I did want to add that I had a very nice conversation with uh, Cynthia Barney and Ben Oxenberger from HLC, EOHLC yesterday about the paving project for Linden and Chambers. And it was initially scheduled for Linden Street, but I had advocated that that money be reallocated to focus on Chambers Street because Linden Street was going to be redeveloped. Katie, our engineer from Allen and Major, and Ben came out last year, walked the site with me, and we took pictures, and they agreed that the area of focus is Chambers and not Linden. And so that initially placed on hold by HLC, and I was able to convince them to take off the hold so that they can reallocate that money and we can move forward with getting that project done. So I hope that we'll move on that before the fall. I hope it'll be in the fast line. I will stay in touch with Ben to, continue to express the concern and the condition of the parking lot. We get calls every day about that parking lot. So
Yeah.
when I got the email that he thanked me for my comments and they assured me that they would move the project forward. So I'm excited about that.
That's terrific.
Yeah,
Uh,
so am I. It's really bad over there.
Oh, it's very, very bad, very, very bad. And then the last thing is just a notice about the annual inspections that will happen at Linden and Chambers. This is just an annual process that our staff is currently engaged in. I think that's it.
Did you want to talk about this and heads up why here? Do you read my writing?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
So the other thing that I'd like to bring forward at our next meeting is a policy that I'm working on. And maybe we can even consider it before our next meeting, but it's a deceased tenant policy. And what it does, it's a policy that would allow the housing authority, when one of our residents pass away, to make sure that everything in the unit is sort of protected. I'm concerned about the agency's liability, and so we want to lock the doors in the unit when someone passes away. We would certainly allow the family to go in and get some clothes for the funeral, pictures, etc. But the unit would be locked until the family had an opportunity to petition the court, probate court, to become a, I'm gonna screw it up.
Personal representative.
Personal representative. And there's a little filing fee
Used to
for
be
that.
known as an executor. I have a hard time changing.
Personal representative. And what will then happen is then we can give the family rights to the unit. They could go in and take things out. We give them a time certain to move everything out. But, we would be, it's their responsibility to go through things. So that policy is going to come before you very, very soon.
May I add a couple of points?
Absolutely.
So the other thing, and this was news to me, when you think you've been here long enough to know everything that ever goes on. Of course, from time to time, we've had tenants who pass away while they're living here. Just natural circle of life, nothing, extraordinary. And I think recently there's been a cluster of them, 3 or 4 that have taken place, and it came to Cheryl's attention, and she's always doing training. So she was doing a seminar that happened to touch on this. But not unexpectedly, many of these people pass away without a last will and testament at all. So that they die intestate. Those are people who know what that means you don't have a will. And under those circumstances, the probate court has to decide what to do. And the people, family members, even if they're very close family members, can't just sort of go in and start taking things. There might be valuable things in there, who knows, but I guess what Cheryl discovered, and it's sort of, I never thought of it, but it seems now obvious that she mentioned it, that until that time, that the probate court has a chance to kind of sort out who gets, the last stuff, and appoint a personal representative, as opposed to what you do in your will. We kind of have a fiduciary responsibility to keep the stuff in that apartment protected, so Cheryl had a whole briefing on that. She's putting it together. She'll bring everything to the board next month on, our responsibilities legally, and make a recommendation as to a policy that actually does not exist for the Needham Housing Authority right now. But I guess other housing authorities do have this policy. So interesting new issue that I've never thought about before.
Always something.
And
I
so
think it's a good one.
I just suggested that Cheryl mention that tonight, just as a heads up that that's in the works here. Okay, one other thing, I was reminded Cheryl of just this afternoon, because it all of a sudden popped up on my tickle reminder, but it's time for waiver number 1 for our tenant commissioner. Does anybody remember what that's all about? Yeah, we have a tenant commissioner. We had an elected tenant commissioner, and then DHCD and the state finally got around to implementing the regulations requiring a tenant commissioner, which has a strange provision that says if you already have an elected tenant commissioner, as we did, which was Janice, I think she was just elected for the first or second year of her term, that rather than doing something else in the normal policy, the housing authority can apply for a waiver for doing that something normal thing. But unfortunately, we can't apply for one waiver for the entire remainder of Janice's 5-year term. We have to apply every year at this time, 5 waivers. So this goes back to 2021, I believe. And I think this is just a board information item that we are, not we, actually, Cheryl is going to be putting in the waiver, which is one of these online forms that goes in through the online management system, with a couple of clicks and everything else like that. So, and then in 2 or 3 weeks, we get a letter from DHCD or HLC saying, okay, signed by Ben Stone. Okay, Janice Bennett is now approved for another year of her 5-year term that she was elected to. Now, when that 5-year term is up, just to remind everybody, it's not up until 2026, so it's a couple more years here. That seat, if you will, becomes the permanent, or is now and continues as the permanent tenant commissioner seat. But the way it gets filled is that the Tenants Association on the federal side nominates somebody to be that tenant commissioner, and then it goes to the select board who needs to approve it. Just as a quick refresher course on this new policy. And I guess this was because many housing authorities did not have tenants commissioners. And it was a reform in 2014 to ensure that there was at least one tenant commissioner on every housing authority board in Massachusetts. As far as I've been here, there's always been a tenant commissioner, going all the way back to Cheryl when I first joined here, and before Cheryl, I think even, right? But they had always been elected, and that had happened because this board today and the board in the past always believed that that was always, would make us a better board if we did. So, all right. Is there anything else that you have to report? Okay, great. We're going to go to agenda item D, status update and approvals of preservation redevelopment initiative. So the first thing I'd like to report on is the developer partner RFP for the Linden Street redevelopment project. I am really quite pleased to report to the commissioners, and I gave them a little bit of a heads up earlier this week, but to everybody, that we received 9 separate developer proposals. Well, we didn't receive proposals, expressions of interest, which we found out at the bidders conferences we did last week. We had a good turnout for the presentation by BH&A on the schematic design. That was last week ago Wednesday. And then a week ago Thursday, I'd say 15-ish people showed up from various different firms. They all signed a sign-in sheet for both Wednesday and Thursday. So when you weeded out all the duplicates from the attendees, it was 9 different firms, including the Cambridge Housing Authority. So 8 others and the Cambridge Housing Authority. And the firms on the list, which is public information and is posted on our website under the bids, RFPs and RFQs page, is a very good list. The sort of top national and regional firms with good reputations. Hopefully this bodes well. I'm not sure we want 9 proposals necessarily, because that's a lot of work to go through, but we should get at least 3 or 4 or 5. And that will mean that we'll be in a position to really negotiate and pick the strongest proposal here for the job. Most advantageous, as they say. Just what's coming up here is the next big deadline is tomorrow at noon, Friday. That's the deadline for interested parties to submit questions to be answered, as a result of their reading the RFP and coming to the sessions last week and thinking through how to do this project, and questions about things they don't understand. I've checked with our procurement consultant earlier this afternoon. We've already gotten some questions in, and we'll be then turning those around and hopefully posting the answers by the following Wednesday. So that would be Wednesday the 24th on the website, making them available to all interested parties. So this is all great news. Any questions about this or comments from anybody? I also would like to thank Jim Flanagan, who's been attending quite a few of the meetings, and it's really great to have another person that is looking out for the Housing Authority's interests, besides myself and Cheryl. And of course, Cheryl has a day job that is already 12 hours a day, not counting this stuff. So it's great. Okay, the next agenda item is the Proposal Evaluation Committee. I sent around earlier this afternoon the list of not only the people that I had all checked with. We started off with a list of 12, 14 names 2 months ago that I previewed with the board. Then I went around to all of them to see who was actually available in the time period that we were targeting, which happens to be the last 3 weeks of August. So this is not, from a vacationitis point of view, this is not necessarily the optimal time. These 7 people are going to be around and are available. And then we're kind enough to provide some biographical information on their background so that the board can really be informed on their background and qualifications, and most importantly, interest and commitment to affordable housing, the Needham Housing Authority, and the town of Needham, which I think are all essential, characteristics. And I'm going to, some of these are well known to us in this meeting. The first, of course, has to be our executive director, Cheryl Gosman, and who needs no further introduction, I do believe, here. The second one, after discussing it with many parties and so forth, it seemed like a good idea to have at least one board member on the committee. And I mentioned that last month, Jim, who is a very busy professional running his consulting career, but also Jim Flanagan did agree that he was not only available, but willing to sort of shoulder this burden as the board representative on the executive, on the evaluation committee. And there's some interesting biographical information. I think we knew some of this, but we didn't know. I didn't know that Jim and his family have been living in Needham since 2007. And so when I found that out, I said, well, wow, he's probably, going to take, be the one that's been here the longest, but it turned out not to be the case. The third person, we always have a tenant on, resident on committees like this, and Helen Garagosian is available and was a volunteer to do this. And I found out some very interesting background about Helen that I don't know if anybody knows, which is that she not only, we knew she would have been a past president of the Linden Chambers Tenant Association. We knew her as a regular contributor to board meetings for as long as I can remember. I did not know that she was a retired X-ray technologist. I did not know she was a private security officer in her younger years at a number of different establishments. I did not know she was a proficient dancer and dance teacher. And I certainly did not know that she was a 4th degree black belt and teacher in traditional Okinawan style of Go-Juru karate, winning regional, national, and world kata championships. Kata is form, it's not fighting, it's just demonstrating the form in very perfect fashion here. And she's been here 10 years in Needham here.
Reg,
Yes.
she also plays the drums.
Oh, she forgot to tell me that. One of the things, the reason we have this, I got the, it took so long to get this out is I got 7 different formats and 7 different resumes and so forth. And I tried to distill down the essentials to sort of a consistent format for everybody here. And by the way, the members did review the final draft, so that this isn't just me making some stuff up. Fourth, Steve Barrett, I think really doesn't need any further introduction bio-wise, although not only has he been an executive director for Norwood in 17 years, I didn't know he was a chair of the Needham Housing Authority back in the 80s, when Seabeds and Cook were being built. That was, if I knew that, I had forgotten it. And but also he's had a career-long commitment to affordable housing, public housing, serving for a couple of years as president of National NARO, some more years as president of New England NARO, and as president of Massachusetts NARO. And then I discovered that he'd been born in Needham. His family has been here since 1881. And I had to write down here, that's not a typo. So, clearly, many generations of, living in and committing to Needham here. So I think that's great. The 5th person is Rhonda Spector, Director of Real Estate and Business Development at Rogerson Communities. Rogerson provides housing for elderly and below-income individuals, and basically Rhonda is in charge of doing this sort of thing that we're trying to do for Rogerson, developing new properties, renovating existing properties, and so forth. So she has a lot of professional background, right in the center of what we're trying to do here. And then she worked for Mass Development and done many, things relevant to what we're doing. She's a town meeting member, her family's lived here for 35 years. Also, a demonstrated commitment to more affordable housing, more housing in Needham with their work on the housing plan working group and other areas here. So She's number 5. Number 6 is Oscar Mertz. I think, again, somebody does not need a lot of introduction to this group, except, just to note that he's been very active in leading the charge on the MBTA Communities Act zoning changes that will be coming before town meeting this fall, housing plan working group. He's a problem solver. He's really been an advocate, and he's been here 31 years, living in the town with his wife Kathy and family for a long time here. The 7th person is somebody that's name may have come up from time to time, Paul McPartland, who's worked, Needham resident, worked for DHCD for 37 years. He is a young lawyer after working a couple, 3 years as a legal aid attorney, helping tenants, with eviction notices and various other kind of tenant-oriented side of the legal stuff. Took a job at DHCD. It's turned into a career. Done just about everything. But most importantly, for the last 20 years, he's done exactly what we're trying to do here at the Linden Street redevelopment project, only he's from the state side of the equation here. So again, he's seen many RFPs, he's seen many proposals, he's seen many proposal evaluations. He has a deep knowledge of regulations and not only how to do things right, what to avoid, not do wrong here. He's been personally a help me over the 15 years that it's taken us to get here. He was my always number 1 person to go to at DHCD and say, I'm really stuck with something. Always generous with his help, always pointed me in the right direction. Really, really solid guy. So this is the first time he's done anything like this, because he's always been precluded from participating in anything in public housing in Needham. He's 2 years into his retirement. I think it's just a wonderful thing. He's going to give this a whirl and sort of round out the entire team. So I think we have a pretty strong team, which I recommend that tonight that we appoint as the official evaluation committee. But let me, before I make any kind of motion to that effect, does anybody have any comments or questions?
Now, so is this all complete? There's no more applications for these? You're all done with this, right?
Yeah, I could explain it to you afterwards.
That's right.
Okay. Happy to spend a few minutes with you.
Perfect.
I'm happy for your interest. So, but let me ask the commissioners first if they have anything.
Do you have any comments, Ed?
No.
Was that a no, Penny?
It was a no. I could add
Yeah.
another thing about Oscar. He helped my son John design his guest cottage in Maine. Insisted on a few things, yeah.
Well, we may have to have you recuse yourself from your vote, unless if any commissioner sees that as disclosure of a conflict of interest on Penny's part. I should ask that actually formally. Is there? And I don't hear anybody objecting to Penny participating in the vote here. So anyway, no, he's really got a track record. There's no question. Ed served with him on the housing plan working group, and it seemed to me he was always the person who was figuring out how to solve problems and create better analysis so that the committee could make the right decisions. Okay, I make a motion that we approve the slate of 7 people as our Linden Street redevelopment project RFP proposal evaluation committee. Do I hear a second? Second from Janice. Any further discussion? Hearing none. We had a third from the peanut gallery here in the room here. So no, the resident's third. So all those in favors? No, I can't do that. I will call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Jim Flanagan says aye.
Ed Scheidler says aye.
Penny Kirk says aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And it is approved. I just also draw your attention to the charter at the front. I don't think there's any confusion about it. But I want to mention it for tonight, for the minutes, in the record, which is, it is an evaluation committee, not a selection committee. So they will go through it, and the proposals are due on August 7th. They will go through a couple-week evaluation period where they analyze the proposals. They'll be supported by staff from our Peregrine Consulting Group. They'll receive a legal analysis from our attorneys. They will judge which proposals are advantageous or most advantageous overall to the Needham Housing Authority. They will produce a report with their findings and recommendation, and that will come to the board probably at a special board meeting at the very end of August, or maybe in the first week of September, depending on how quickly things go and how many proposals we get. And then the board will meet with the evaluation committee and listen to the recommendations and talk amongst ourselves and make the final decision, the final selection of our developer partner. Okay, moving on. The actual project itself, no significant new news to report. The BH&A team is, deep in the weeds of preparing and finalizing the site plan review application, which is a very detailed multi-document, multi-page document and plans that go to the planning board, all towards a target date of the 23rd of September for the kickoff, or is it the 24th? It's the Tuesday there, to kick off the public hearing, and that's the official public hearing to approve the proposed development for construction. And we need to do that, get that approved by the end of October, because the deadline for submitting funding applications for the annual cycle called One Step to the state is November 1st, or that preliminary application. So they're on schedule for that. We also have a meeting with the town department heads next week. It's called a design review team meeting next Thursday. This is where all, the police chief or his designee, fire chief, building commissioner, conservation commission, and planning board, town engineer, every department head that's, going to get involved in this project, they informally review the plans. They, not informally, they formally review the plans and give advice and provide a report to the planning board for, in September. We also, in August, we'll have a design review board presentation. Design review board doesn't look at zoning or things like building or fire lanes or anything. They look at how the building harmonizes in the neighborhood, and they use the word harmony a lot. So the look of the building, how it's sited. They're not saying, oh, gee, it ought to be a 3-story building or a 4-story building. That kind of thing is, zoning, planning board. But is it attractively designed? The landscaping, the green spaces, this kind of look and feel of the project, and how does it fit into the neighborhood? So that's in August. And then there's also in August, there's going to, and maybe early September, there'll be a application to the Conservation Commission. It's called a notice of intent. And because we have wetlands surrounding us with the culvert and ditch behind, you have to apply to and we're almost all the site is within the 100-foot zone from quote unquote wetlands, what they call it, the bordering vegetative wetland. They have legal regulatory jurisdiction of everything that happens within the 100-foot zone. So that will be happening probably early September. Any questions or comments on that? No new news on our funding applications for Linden Street. I'm moving on to Seabeds and Cook. There you've got the report from from CHA on what's been up, we've been up to last month, and it's we're at the where we have the sort of 50% complete drawings. They came in at $30 million of a new cost estimate. Our budget is $16 million. So for the last 2 weeks, there have been multiple meetings, you know, Cheryl and I, and sometimes Jim attending here, where we're, first of all, making sure they're not double counting things in the estimates, which they were. So that took it down to, it was 22 million versus 16 million. So it wasn't quite as scary as that. And then we're looking through all the priorities, seeing if there's, they call it value engineering, is see if there's cheaper ways to do things and still get the same results. We've had some real breakthroughs there. Seeing what, you know, what our priorities tell us. We have everything classified by priority 1, 2, and 3. This meeting, last meeting we had yesterday, I think we were still getting breakthrough to getting it to 16 or 17 million dollars. But still work in progress. Hope to have this finished sometime next week. Then once that is signed off by Cheryl, and then and me as her administrative assistant, that gives them the permission to proceed to the 100%. And again, you know, every iteration is we get more and more detail on exactly what we're doing, and the cost estimates get more and more precise. So you want to do this sort of mid-course correction so that that you're not chasing something that's totally impossible. The other thing we're doing is we're taking some of the things that may need to be postponed and seeing if we can afford them out of our new future revenue streams, which you remember is a lot more with the Section 22 repositioning than they are now. And also looking at things that can be deferred sort of naturally. We're also creating what they call add alternates, which is some of the energy efficiency stuff that we can't maybe afford to do right now, like solar panels. You can make it an add alternate, and then if a pot of money comes along, and there's lots of money here that would, you know, fund that particular piece of the project from an extra grant that we can get, then we can sort of move it back into scope. Did I overlook anything that you can remember, Cheryl, on that?
No, we had a meeting on
Monday, a playground meeting. You should probably describe that. Actually, that was a joy.
that was a great meeting. You know, we had a discussion on options for playground renovation. And the BH+A team had some drawings to show us what it would look like as a early project before the major renovations, et cetera, began.
And the meeting with the residents.
And also had some equipment to show as well. So there were not a lot of parents came out to the meeting. We did have some children show up for some pizza, but there was a description of the drawings and potential equipment for a new playground that is badly needed at Captain Robert Cook Drive. So I thought that was a very, very good meeting. The children were very engaging, and they interacted with the architects and consultants. So it was a good meeting. We had pizza and we had soda and
3 very precocious 10-year-olds that asked a lot of questions. So, you know, I think we did have resident participation,
yeah,
not quite not quite what we were thinking of when we scheduled the meeting, but
But I do want to add that BH plus A has done a great job in terms of scoping out that project. It is a very expensive project. It looks like it's coming in at $900,000 to do the playground over.
I don't think it's
So
quite
there
that
was
much.
some discussion about whether or not we should go forward with that as a priority. So more to come.
Okay.
Well, I was at that meeting, Reg,
Yeah.
and I just want to say that I think it's more than beneficial to the children of Captain Robert Cook Drive that we have something down here for them to do. As you can tell, we are like put down in a huge valley, if you will, with a rather large cul-de-sac via St. Mary Street. And I also want to say that I have witnessed, I live right across the street from there, many parents and grandparents from the entire cul-de-sac come down, you know, not the people that live in the housing authority, but people from the cul-de-sac itself. And, you know, I see that during the day, early in the morning. And I see many grandparents from Seabeds as well, bring their grandbabies down. And I think it'd be highly beneficial to do that place over. I mean, especially getting rid of the floor there where there's mulch. And because there's been many years where we have not been able to replace the mulch because we haven't had the money, or we haven't had a diligent enough ED to see that. And what ends up happening is the structures cement, which is all now exposed and crumbling. It's dangerous for the children. It's
Right.
dangerous. So my recommendation before you got to the meeting was that we get rid of that floor, alleviate the problem of the grass growing in, and maintenance having to, you know, weed the grass from there, and there's still no money for the mulch. So just get rid of that, put that new floor in, alleviate all that. It'll save money in the end. But you know, we really need to do that over, especially where we're getting new pavement. You know, give it a new lease on life and look. And then we'll do the siding.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I think everybody recognizes it as a high priority, and the sooner, and we're even considering whether we can do it sooner rather than later. So stay tuned. And everything you say about the mulch, I don't think you can even do the mulch today by code. I think you have to have that sort of rubberized safety surface, like they put in at Newman. Remember when they did that Newman playground over a few years ago?
Exactly.
And because it doesn't, like you said, the mulch gets scraped off, and then you've got a concrete footing exposed. The next thing you know, somebody's bleeding with a cut knee or something. So that's not good. So great. Well, I thought that was a great meeting myself. This was really fun and really good pizza as well. So
Great pictures.
but we got pictures that we'll show at our next meeting of the 10-year-olds giving direction to the architect. Literally, they got in there and started saying this and not that. So that was good. All right, section 22 repositioning application. No particularly new news on that. It's just stuff is getting done. It'll be going in, when's our new date for that? Sometime later this month, or
I think it's more closer to August, September.
or August, September, but it's moving along. It's just 1,000 death by 1,000 cuts of detail that you need to get things done here. Okay, that's any questions on the CHA report? If not, we can move on to the final agenda items today here. All right, status update on Unit 42, what's happening there?
So unit 42 we will have a family moved in as of August 1st.
Amazing Grace.
Amazing Grace. It was just a little snafu with the permitting and how that was recorded, and we needed to resolve that matter. So it looks like the family is all set to move in on August 1st. And Cook's After School is sort of just there until some news comes along. The building is closed now, and we're thinking about programming for the fall.
Okay, stay tuned, I
Stay
guess,
tuned.
for maybe more updates in August. Yeah,
That's correct, yes.
all right, super. We do not have any new business, and I think we're at the end of our agenda. So 1 hour and 20 minutes, started on time. I think this is a good new track record to see if we can do it two meetings in a row next month. And I appreciate everybody attending. Get cool. Hopefully we'll have a break in the weather later today, and it won't be so horrible. Yes, Penny.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second from Janice. I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And we should all wish Jim good luck. He has an important meeting tonight. Otherwise, he would be here in person here. So best of luck.
Good luck, Jim.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Turn off the webinar.
Let me tell you why a lot of residents would be sitting this late for time.
It's hard. And these chairs are not too bad. Actually, I was really worried about it. I think they're more comfortable than the old green chairs there. So,
We actually have new chairs.
yeah, and they're stackable.
I
Looks like
apologize for interfering when you were doing.
No,
your-
no, that's
But
okay.
I was just wondering about the committee because I have my background. I have a number of years doing marketing for international